All right. Hello, everyone. Hi. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks, or yeah, about a week or two. I've been sick, so I'm gonna do a quick, easy video today, to kind of get myself back into a rhythm because I haven't done one in a while. And I apologize for my mic sounding bad. This one no longer works, so I need to replace it, get a new one, whatever. I'm using the camera microphone, which is not good at all. Anyway, let me talk about the Seahawks for a second. So, what I wanted to discuss today with the Seahawks is their upcoming schedule because it's going to be a real test for this team. They're currently 4-2, and I will admit I have not watched the last two games. It's not, disinterest or anything. It's because I've been busy. But from the games I've seen, it's been the same problems 2 weeks in a row. The defense looks great. It looks a lot better than it did to start the year. It looked like I'm really loving the way the defense looks. But the offense is having a lot of red zone struggles. Now, I'm still not sure what to think of this team. I'm not sure whether I, want or I don't know if they're like as a good, top 10 team or if they're middle of the pack or overperforming. I don't know. We've kind of seen a flip of the script with this team from the first three games and last three games. First three games, the offense kind of, other than week one, the offense kind of carried the load, and the defense was just there, giving up a lot of points and yards. You talk about Minnesota, LA, or not in Minnesota, Detroit, LA, Carolina, not in that order, but that was kind of how the first 3 weeks went. Good offense, not great defense. Again, aside from week one. And then you look at the past 3 weeks, not including the bye. You get a 24-3 win over the Giants, 17-13 loss to the Bengals, and 2010 win over the Cardinals. And like I said, it's a flipping of the script with this team where now the defense is really keeping the team in games, and the offense is the one lagging behind, which the offense is the one that really shouldn't consider, like, considering all the weapons. Seattle has four really good wide receivers in their wide receiver room, and they have Kenneth Walker, really, really good pass catching running back. He's been really good so far this year. Zach Charbonnet is a good pass catcher, and a very solid tight end room. So I know the struggles are offensive line, obviously, but this is a team that the red zone struggles are almost baffling. This like, and that was something I highlighted in the beginning of the year, especially in weeks 1 and 3, where they could not score or even move the ball in week one in the second half. But then in week 3, the first half it was just field goals. So I'm not sure what to make of this team at the moment. And these next 4 games are going to be the ultimate test for the Seahawks. And I know the schedule is more brutal around Thanksgiving. You have San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly. Like, that's brutal. That could be 0-4. But the next 4 games are really going to be a good gauge for this team and where they are. So on Sunday, they're home for Cleveland in the throwback jerseys. I'm so excited to see them in them. But they're home for Cleveland, and Cleveland has been a defense-first team. Their defense has been great, and their offense has not been good. PJ Walker will be getting the start, so defensively, the Seahawks will have the ability to take advantage of some things. But this is not going to be an easy game. This is going to be the toughest defense we faced all year, and if we can't move the ball, I don't say I don't want to say it's, oh well, the offense is bad now, but like, Seattle needs to figure something out with, especially with all their weapons. Like, when everything clicks, I do believe this offense could be one of the top 5, 3 in the league, especially considering everything you have. DK, Tyler, JSN, Bobo, the tight ends, the running back. Like, this could be a top offense. It's just been offensive line injuries that have held them back. So this week is going to be, if they can overcome that and score a bunch of points against the Browns, then we know, hey, this team is actually turning around on the offensive side of the ball again. If they can't, then I'm still not sure what to make of it because this is the number one defense in the league, or at least the most talented, or like it points per game really doesn't tell the full story for Cleveland. 19 points a game. A lot of it's because they allowed 38 last week. So, and that's something to consider too. Is Indy was able to move the ball a ton against Cleveland last week. So with our better talent, I'll just say that outright. Better talent than Cleveland, or not Cleveland, Indy. We should be able to move the ball. But then the next several games are interesting as well. At Baltimore, that suddenly is one of the toughest games on the schedule. It already was because Baltimore's a really good team with Lamar Jackson. But after curb stomping the Lions, this is a team to look out for. And I think going to Baltimore, that's going to be a very, very tough game. And if they can't figure out how to contain Lamar or score on that defense, they're going to really struggle, and they might end up like the Lions. So that is going to be how good what is the ceiling of this team? Because if they can take down Baltimore and they can do it convincingly, then I would argue, hey, this could be a top 5 team. But if they get stomped like the Lions did, then I think we're talking okay, this is not a contender at all. Maybe a playoff contender, not a contender. So that's a good gauge for playoffs anyway. Is this team good enough for January football? That'll be what that test is for. But then the next 2 games, home for Washington and at LA, the Rams, those are more placed elsewhere because the Rams 3-4, I think they're better than their record, but they really handled the Seahawks in week 1. So that'll be a chance to avoid the sweep. But then Washington is a team that they're very they're competitive, but I feel like they are their record. They are, a losing team, or at least they're going to lose more games than they win, but they they have put up some really good performances this year. So that'll be a test for, can Seattle kind of punch down a little bit? Because I do think the Seahawks are better than the Commanders, and I think most people do. Can they punch down? Because we've seen teams struggle with that this year. You look at Dallas against the Cardinals, or you look at San Francisco in the last 2 games. Now, maybe, Cleveland's on the upswing, and so are the Vikings, so maybe not as much stock should be put in that game, or in them being that much worse. But we've seen teams struggle to punch down on opponents this year. There's been so many more upsets than at least I foresaw. It's been a great season, at least on the upset end of things. But those 4 games are really going to determine what the Seahawks team is. And 3 of those games are very tricky. This Sunday, Baltimore and LA, and you can't overlook the Commanders because they do have considerable talent on both sides of the ball. So this stretch of 4 games will decide, is this team a serious playoff contender, or should they probably be trying to get into a better draft position and draft a quarterback? I know quarterback's not the biggest issue. Geno has taken a step back this year compared to last year, but he's clearly not super dynamic. He's clearly not the quarterback that's going to get this team to the Super Bowl. I don't think there's much argument about that. And I'm not saying I believed that at any point, but he's clearly, second or third tier quarterbacks where, you compare him to Mahomes, Allen, blow him out of the water, but then you go guys like, Purdy, Cousins. I'd take Kirk or Brock Purdy or whoever else you want to throw in that second tier, Tua over Geno. Discussion for a different video. I'm not going to go too far down that. But I think Seattle potentially, if they do end up a top 15, potentially top 10 pick, I think this team is too talented for that. But if they do, then I think the pick is quarterback. And again, offensive line has been the biggest issue. And the offensive line is 100% better than it has been in previous years. It is just health. There's been multiple points this year where, none of the starters are in, or they're in different positions. So the problem is health on the offensive line. It's not the guys up front; it's the health. So I don't, and we may see if they go 1-3 in this upcoming stretch. Then I think personally, I'd like to see him, go, hey, Drew Lock, go. Here's your chance, because at least let's evaluate before the end of the year. I'd at least like an evaluation of Drew Lock at some level, and whether that be just a week 17 game, meaningless because we're in the playoffs, or we're eliminated, put in Drew. I don't care. I want to know what we have in Drew Lock before the end of the season. But yeah, these 4 games I think will determine how good this team is. And then the 4 coming up later, again, San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly, those are going to determine if this team is serious playoff contender, if they're going to, or where they should be placed. Because if they can win 2 of those games, then I think you could be talking about a team that's a dark horse come playoff time. But if they lose all 4, or if they win 1, then yeah, no, this team is like a one and done in the playoffs. Again, looking too far ahead, talking about too much. But this is legitimately what, and it doesn't help that Uchenna Nwosu's now out for the year. Frank Clark is back, but I don't know. This is a weird team to evaluate for me compared to other teams. Like where San Francisco, they're probably the most talented team in the league. They're just now suddenly dealing with injuries and inconsistencies. I still think San Francisco's my Super Bowl pick, but you also look at Kansas City, probably the most well-rounded they've been since Patrick Mahomes became the starter. They're obviously a top 3, top 2 team. So Seattle is one of those where they're probably not as good as people are rating them. Like I'd say they're probably a low top 10 team, maybe 10. I'd say maybe 11. I don't know, but I think they're also too good to miss the playoffs. I really believe that. So these next 4 games will kind of determine if I'm right about that or not, because that's where I kind of see this team being. But I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Again, Seattle, very talented. I'm so excited. I love watching this team, and I love Devin Witherspoon. I have his jersey now. But again, let me know what you guys think about the Seahawks and going forward, because their schedule gets really tough. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm back now. I'm going to try and do more videos next week. I have to update on the Seahawks fantasy team next week. There's also however the Seahawks do this upcoming weekend, and anything else I feel like doing. So thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next video.